us here on the Business Today show, and we're counting down to market opening. Let's take a look at the overnight setup and how the global markets are doing. Somewhat of a rebound that we have seen post all of the furor around Greenland and Trump's ambitions there. S&P 500 up about 0.5%, Nasdaq and Dow also looking good overnight on Wall Street. In fact, this morning on Asia as well, some amount of news coming in. Japan is Bank of Japan has raised its economic growth forecast ahead of the snap election, holding rates at 0.75%. So green across the Asian screens this morning as well. So it is looking good when it comes to the global setup. Remember, we are closing the week at Davos, and today's show we're going to bring you a whole host of voices from the World Economic Forum and really get a sense of the dialogue and insights that are coming out from there. Gold and silver continue to be at record-breaking levels, given, of course, safe haven buying. And silver particularly, just look at those trades. Never been seen before, completely unprecedented, and those moves continue to surprise us every single morning. Joining me on the show, Shailendra Bhatnagar, as always. Shell, just a quick look at the setup ahead of trade. Only about 5-6 minutes left to go before we kick off this morning.
A very good morning to you, Aabha. The best wishes for Basant Panchami to all our viewers. And day before yesterday, we had marked the low on the Nifty. The market has risen from that point onwards. Well, a lot of bullish crossovers, Aabha, are happening into many sectors. So the worst is behind us. Now, that is because of Trump's speech in Davos and, of course, many other factors. But at this point of time, the balance of strength lies towards long stocks rather than shorting the market at this point of time. So breakouts happening in pesticides, FMCG in particular, packaging, defense, sugar, agriculture and fertilizer spaces, just to name a few. Capital market segment continues to be strong, and our two most loved and most popular segments, PSU banks and metals. The dip has been purchased, as was pointed out 2 days ago. Aabha.
All right, so that's the setup for you. Let's start to bring you some of those key voices from Davos. Remember, it's the last day. Global leaders and business tycoons have been discussing the global order and issues that matter to markets. India Today's Rajdeep Sardesai and Business Today Group Editor Siddharth Rabi spoke to the leaders of India on the India moment at Davos. Listen in.
Ashwini, I also want you to talk about another area which is a massive area, because sometimes all the attention goes to digital infrastructure development, but the physical infrastructure, including the railways that you are championing, plus the highway program. In terms of the railways discourse, I don't see any other comparable economy in the world which is investing the kind of money in a railway network build out. Someone here yesterday said that in India over the next 5 years, 10 years, everything has to grow 4 to 5 times to even meet today's demands. About the railways, what will you share with us?
Exactly, and our Prime Minister has given so much focus on railways right from 2014 onwards. The investment which is now coming in railways is immense. The execution pace is very high. We have added 35,000 kilometers in the last 11 years. We have electrified practically 99.8%, 99.6% of our network. 47,000 kilometers electrification we have done in the last 11 years. We are totally transforming the way our trains are manufactured. New generation Vande Bharat trains, Vande Sleeper has been recently launched, Amrit Bharat, Namo Bharat trains. So people are so excited about this entire journey of railways, and it's highly environment friendly mode of transportation, because compared to highway, it has 98% less carbon dioxide load. So it's very important that for a sustainable growth, for a clean growth, we keep on our focus on railways.
Talk about India's chip ecosystem, Ashwini. A lot of effort has gone in, and again the parallel that I have to say is that it will be difficult to find any large size and comparable economy, frankly, which is doing so much on this. There are some traditional hotspots which have happened over decades, but on the chip ecosystem, in terms of the sequencing and the effort that you have been personally leading, where do we stand today?
So yesterday in a roundtable, the industry leaders from semiconductor industry, they said that India is probably the only country which will be having the end-to-end spectrum of entire chip ecosystem, entire chip value chain. Today we are designing 2 nanometer chips in our country. There are 24 startups which have started designing their own. There are thousands of students, more than 65,000 students who are designing chips, manufacturing them. So the design part of it. The fabrication or fab is coming up very well in Dholera. The ATMP units, 9 of them, they are coming up very well. They are starting their commercial production in 2026. The downstream electronics manufacturing industry. So this entire chain is now coming up, taking shape in our country. And good thing is electronics manufacturing and IT services combined are very large export economy today. Electronics manufacturing has become, electronics exports has become the third largest exported item after petroleum and engineering goods. Very soon it will become the second largest export item. So the growth in the last 11 years in electronics manufacturing is 6 times. Electronics exports is 8 times. Semiconductor is a new industry which has set up. The design ecosystem is developing very fast. The talent pipeline is growing very rapidly. So it's a factor which the entire world has taken note of, and our path is very well calibrated and very well thought through. By 2030 we should be doing 7 nanometer chips. By 2032 we should be doing 3 nanometer chips.
All right, counting down to opening now. Let's take a look at what the pre-open's indicating and really some of the stocks that we'll be watching out for today. Remember a few earnings reactions that'll come in. Indigo, of course, we've seen a complete tank on net profit. We've got and that came in, of course, late yesterday. We've got a whole host of numbers that will be in focus. DLF as well on the back of earnings. We did see some amount of an uptick on profit and revenue, but margins down. So let's see how that reacts as well. So Indigo, DLF, we've got Bandhan Bank, Adani Total Gas, so a whole host of these stocks on the back of earnings that will be in focus today. We also have Emphasis Q3 earnings, net profit down. So a whole host of stocks that we'll be tracking there. Let's take a look at how things have shaped up. On the index, we're at 25,300. So we have gradually inched up to that mark, even though it's overall been kind of slow on the key indices. Nifty 50 there, just about flat. Let's pull up some of the other key indices for you and also some of the gainers and losers this morning. Let's take a look at some of these names that are going to be in focus on the back of earnings as well. The Nifty Bank, just a marginal uptick there. And we've got, let's pull up for you some of the other names as well. I just want to quickly take a look. Yeah, TCS up about 1% today. Hindalco, Dr. Reddy. So mixed bag when it comes to the gainers right now. Let's also pull up some of the losers for you. A little bit of action on metals, which is, of course, pretty much in line with trend at the moment. And on the downside, Adani Enterprises, HDFC Life, ONGC, some of the losers today on that list. Let's pull up for you some of the names that we were talking about in focus on the back of earnings, just to see if there's any major reaction coming in on some of those stocks. I just want to pull up or mark some of those key names as well for you. Let's pull up an Indigo. Let's pull up, for example, an Emphasis, DLF. DLF's up just about 0.5% right now. And we'll talk more about those earnings later, but just seeing a market reaction currently to see if we're seeing any movement there. Broader markets also completely pretty much flat, moderate gains today. Indigo is down about 3%, not entirely unexpected. Overall, the market still seems to have a consensus view that it'll recover from this. So 3% is actually still moderate for the kind of hit they've seen this time around on their earnings. Emphasis up about 2% on earnings so far. Shell, what are you spotting?
Well, Aabha, I'm looking at the strength in IT. Therefore, Tech Mahindra 1702. Infosys is also looking good. Banks in particular, private sector bank in particular, ICICI Bank should show signs of recovery. IndusInd Bank is doing pretty well. HDFC Bank, the top draw 924 for you, 0.5% higher. Remember, HDFC Bank is the highest weighted component both in the Nifty and the Bank Nifty. Metals, okayish, but nothing to be very happy about. Hindalco days high 955, Vedant doing 686, National Aluminium at 368. So it's a nice start. Remember, we are headed into the weekend and a longer holiday because Monday is off and Tuesday is the monthly expiry. So trade will be muted and trade will be concentrated on metals, IT, and to some extent profit booking in PSU banks. Aabha.
All right, the IT is definitely seeing a good strength today in the markets. All right, let's listen in to some of the other leaders that are speaking from Davos this time around. Here we go, bringing you some exclusive excerpts.
I want to ask you a broader question on reforms again. 2025, very clearly a big year for reforms. Prime Minister Modi has indicated that path will continue in 2026. So, we started this conversation with a broader thing. What's your own belief about the reform story of India and how you expect it to pan out?
So I was just listening to the minister yesterday in your India Today conversation. I think one point which we all must recognize that a lot of rationalization of the regulations and laws, compliance burden on the industry is sought to be reduced. Labor codes is a big reform which has been there in discussion for a long time, and now the way the industry has taken and reorienting its the labor policies to suit the codes is a very, very important development in my view. So the reforms objective of Government of India is to ensure that ease of doing business and also give confidence to the investors that this is one country which will continue on the reforms path. But if I have to really ask one thing, I think we have also been mentioning from our house point of view is that while the fiscal prudence is there on the Government of India side, the same level of prudence has to come on the state level, states, because the states have to play an important role. And I see that almost 9 major states representing in Davos, presenting their industrial policies and investment climate is a very good development in our view.
Give us your prediction for these extraordinary times. I know it's very tough. We had the World Economic Forum, President, where you were the other day, and he said we are living in the most challenging and complex time since 1945. Given all that, I still want you to put your thinking cap on and tell me what's going to happen over the next 12 months. What can we expect in this Trumpian era next?
Well, first, let's recognize that Trumpian era is what he wants you to call it, but it's not very accurate. The United States is the most powerful country in the world. I accept that. President Trump is not the most powerful leader. Xi Jinping is. Why is that? Xi Jinping doesn't have midterm elections. He doesn't have an independent judiciary. Trump isn't going to be there in 3 years. Xi Jinping is, right? And so Trump is getting all the headlines. He's getting all the media attention. Xi Jinping is actually in the better position as a leader. In many ways, Modi is in better position as a leader. Longer term, more consistent, allows Modi to push back more effectively than many of the European leaders, and we've seen that over the last few days. I guess one thing I would say, one thing that we've learned from these 3 days that we've wasted on Greenland, is that it turns out that even the Europeans are capable of hitting the Americans back effectively, because this was Taco. Right? This was Trump chickening out. He said he was going to own Greenland. He threatened them. There were going to be tariffs on all of the countries by February 1 that supported Denmark. He backed off of all of those things, and he got nothing for it. Why? Why did that happen? Well, number one, because the Europeans were prepared to actually put reciprocal tariffs in place and use the anti-coercion instrument. Number two, because it turns out that there are issues back in the United States where there are real divides, including among Republicans. And this is one of them. In fact, Greenland was even worse for Trump than the Epstein files in polling. Minus 38 on Epstein, minus 40 on Greenland. And the Republicans were telling him, we will not support you on this issue. So he had to back down, especially when the markets tanked. And then number three, and this is the most important thing. India is a partner and a friend of the United States. The Europeans are allies of the United States. That is different from being a partner and friend of President Trump. And when we see policies that are being advanced by Trump that are in his interest, but not in the interest of the United States, that has to be mentioned. And
it gives me great honor and pleasure and privilege to have you here, sir. I begin with a stock question. How does it feel to be back at Davos? You built the India story here in Davos. What is different? Not just the presence of the US president, but what have you felt and picked up?
From 1996, I am coming here. Even so many media persons and also politicians and also industry have seen. In the beginning, nobody used to recognize Indians. That was the story. Today, everybody is acknowledging, everybody is recognizing, and also everybody is saying this is India's time. That is the biggest transformation we have achieved under our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. I am proud to be an Indian. Generally, I believed this is the place where I have to learn and network and also implement in India. 1991 economic reforms, mid-90s, first mover advantage of technology, then I had to market. That is where I marketed, I attracted investment, I learned things, and I am very fortunate at that time under Vajpayee ji leadership. You are aware, first United Front government for a short time, after that Vajpayee. Under his leadership, we have done so many reforms, even technology, even road infrastructure, airport infrastructure, so much of development we are able to do.
Let's also talk about the fact that when I have been having conversation this round of Davos, people keep talking about India's resilience from an economic growth point of view and also political stability. And while the Mumbai as an example pertains to the state of Maharashtra and the municipal elections being won by the ruling party, the broader message is that not double engine, there is a triple engine Sarkar. How is double engine working for you, your party, as a constituent of the NDA, Mr. Naidu as one of the most respected members, from a pushing the growth agenda forward point of view?
See, first I believe India always does well in crisis. And the geopolitical crisis is helping us reshape our policies, forcing all of us to relook at our entire regulatory framework and make us sharper and finer. I think this is a crisis and we're going to use it as an opportunity. Two, while there are quite a few NDA states now in India, all of them have double engine Sarkar, but only Andhra Pradesh has double engine bullet train Sarkar. So, we have Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji who's been guiding us, and then of course we have a very experienced Chief Minister with 50 years of experience, Mr. Naidu, who guides us and who challenges our views, who pushes us harder than ever to break our own records on a periodic basis. So that's been very exciting journey. Two, I believe that Andhra Pradesh has a voice at the table. Andhra Pradesh today can positively give feedback on policies, influence policies in the interest of the state, and of course by virtue of being a first mover has the first mover advantage. This is what we have done in data center, this is what we have done in the steel city, and I believe we have a very important role to play, and we've done this in the past. Vajpayee ji,
Cyberabad, and then so many others tried to follow that and tried to copy it. Absolutely.
29 में से 26 और अब लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि डबल इंजन नहीं, अब तो ट्रिपल इंजन है। पर मेरा सवाल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट, इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट और म्युनिसिपल डेवलपमेंट से लेके है। भारत में आबादी, खासकर मुंबई जैसे शहर में इतनी बड़ी जनसंख्या और इतना विस्तार हुआ है इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का, टनले बनी है जो अभूतपूर्व था। इस अप्रत्याशित जीत के बाद क्या आप कहेंगे कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट के किस प्रकार के नए कार्यक्रम आप इंप्लीमेंट करेंगे?
देखिए, मैं पहले उसको डावोस से जोड़ना चाहता हूं, क्योंकि यहाँ हमने कुछ बहुत अच्छी चीजें की है। तो एक सबसे बड़ी चीज ये, देखिए अभी हम लोग जानते हैं कि हम 5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी हो रहे, लेकिन हम लोगों का जो प्रधानमंत्री जी का सपना है 10 ट्रिलियन 20 ट्रिलियन, ये जो हमारा एक हमारी जो राह है, तो उसके ऊपर जाते समय हम बिजनेस यूजुअल से तो वो कर नहीं सकते। अब इनोवेशन इकोसिस्टम के माध्यम से हम लोग ये सब कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि इतना लीप फ्रॉग करना है तो जो चाइना जैसी कंट्री या बाकी जिन्होंने लीप फ्रॉग किया उन्होंने इनोवेशन से किया है। इसलिए हम लोगों ने पिछले साल, बिकॉज लास्ट ईयर द थीम ऑफ डावोस वाज इनोवेशन इन एआई, तो उस समय हम लोगों ने तय किया था कि हम लोग मुंबई के पास एक इनोवेशन सिटी तैयार करेंगे। और उस समय मैं टाटा के श्री एन चंद्रा से मिला था और मैंने उनको कहा था कि आई फील दैट मुंबई इज अ राइट प्लेस वेयर वी शुड डू दिस, और मैंने उनको कहा था कि आपकी मदद उसमें चाहिए। तो उन्होंने ही वॉलंटियर, उन्होंने कहा कि मेरी टीम दुनिया भर की सारी नॉलेज सिटीज, इनोवेशन सिटीज में जाएगी और हम लोग वहां से उसका कंटूर सारा उसका तैयार करेंगे। तो कल करीब 450 अलग अलग देशों के जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स है उनके सामने कल हमने
Quick follow-up on that. In terms of women's participation in the workforce, I ask you this question in the backdrop of the new labor code that is rolling out even as we speak. What have we done right and what more needs to be done?
I think I have consistently said this over a decade, even as a policy maker, that the way we count women's participation still needs to be refined. And I say this because we have established through Prime Minister Modi's leadership that close to 90 million women in self-help groups receive government fiscal support through financial institutions where money is going straight to the self-help groups. NPA is less than 2%. The transactions that one sees in annual volumes is close to $37 billion, which means that these women have showcased that they are very adept at handling that money. They are very disciplined in their engagements with the financial institutions. The question is, do they get counted as those who are contributing financially or economically They don't. They don't. There are many women who are doing small businesses where their capital need is not more than $50,000. Do they get counted? Because they are a part of the informal sector, they do not have enough economic capacity and are not robust enough to even measure up to the GST benchmark. Do they get counted? They actually don't. You have 90% of the agricultural labor which is female but informal. Do they get counted? They don't. So if you start counting all these verticals, especially in the informal sector, and I say this because there was earlier description that informal sector means you have no pension, you have no health plan, and you have no work days off if you're giving birth to a child. Now look at what Prime Minister Modi has done. He's given you a pension scheme. He's given you an insurance scheme. He's given you Ayushman Bharat. So he's covered all those challenges that people in the informal sector were facing. That being said, now are we counting those women? We are not. So the problem is not that women are not working. The problem is that they're not getting counted completely.
Okay, markets at this point of time, it's really earnings focused. They're flat to positive, as in we've got some action coming in on IT and of course metals on the earnings front. We are also watching out from a whole host of names, Indusin, BPCL, Cipla, JSW Steel, some still yet to announce as well. So a lot of earnings that we're eyeing. Remember, we're heading into a long weekend and next week is the budget week, and for the first time it's actually going to be on a Sunday, so there'll be a lot of pre-budget either caution or action next week as we count down to, of course, what could be some amount of a reform buzz or announcements in the budget. Let's see. Of course, a lot of consensus suggests that the budget won't really be too much of a trigger for the market this time, but you never know what is in store. Shell, anything you're tracking before we wind up the show today?
Absolutely, Aabha. Metals and metals all the way. Remember, the market has cooled off substantially before the budget. Therefore, even if budget is nothing that you expected of, there are higher chances that you will see a good rally in February than the pain that we've suffered in January. That's the basis of markets, which is mean reversion. You try to climb back where you left off. So 26,300 back on the cards in February. Again, mark my words, Aabha.
All right. We'll definitely remember that one. That's where we leave it on the show. For now, we'll be back, of course, at 3 p.m. for all the market closing action. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll continue to bring you all those voices from Davos. Do stay tuned.